Welcome to the Mama Needs a Moment podcast with your hosts, Chrissy and Cindy, co-founders of Her Plus Health Collective, and moms who understand the chaos of juggling it all. But here's the thing, your well-being matters. That's why we're on a mission to change the way moms take care of themselves. This season, every episode features a roundtable conversation, bringing together trusted experts from different backgrounds to talk about the topics that matter most to moms, creating space for more collaborative, whole person care. These episodes are short, meaningful, and easy to fit into real life. You'll hear from our Her Plus expert providers sharing expert insight and real-life tips you can use right away. Learn more about them in our free provider directory linked in the show notes. So take a deep breath, grab your coffee, and let's make these moments count. Welcome to Mama Needs a Moment. We are here with just a few of our Her Plus expert providers. They have come to join us for this important roundtable conversation on maternal grief and loss, supporting moms through difficult and hard seasons. In the next several episodes, we're opening up space for the many forms of loss mothers experience, including but not limited to miscarriage, infertility, identity shifts, or the loss of relationships, health, or loved ones, the loss of loved ones. These are conversations that don't always get the space or acknowledgement that they deserve, often because they're uncomfortable, misunderstood, or don't fit into the more traditional or visible definitions of grief. And because of that, many mothers find themselves carrying these experiences quietly without the validation or support they truly need. Our goal is to bring these experiences into the open and to create a space where grief in all of its forms can be named, explored, and met with compassion. So before we begin, each of our experts will briefly introduce themselves and share their area of focus. And as a reminder, you can watch in video format over on our YouTube channel. You can access that link in our show notes. You can go to YouTube and search in the search bar for Her Health Collective. And you can also go to our website to get to YouTube. Kelly, would you pop on and say hi and give a little background?
Sure. Thank you for having me. My name is Kelly Smedley. I am a board-certified psychiatric clinical nurse specialist, and I'm also a certified perinatal mental health professional. I am the founder and CEO of Waypoint Counseling and Maternal Wellness. We are a practice that focuses on pregnant, postpartum, and beyond. We serve women's and moms across North Carolina. And I am also a loss mom myself. I have experienced the loss of my son when he was 3 months old to SIDS, and that was almost 13 years ago. So I not only have professional experience, I have a personal story as well, and I'm excited to talk about this topic today.
Thank you so much, Kelly. We're so sorry for your loss. And thank you for using your experience as a way to help others.
I'm Catherine Rose. I am an integrative health practitioner. I work a lot with women and moms that are struggling with chronic or autoimmune conditions. And I'm also a single mom of two kids, 9 and 11. I'm just excited to be here. I too think this topic is not talked about enough. I'm glad that space is being created to talk about it and to make it almost more common to talk about and to make it okay. Make it okay for us to feel and just let other moms out there know that they're not alone.
I'm Sarah Shimanovsky, and I'm the owner of Fermata Counseling, which is a practice where I focus on moms and perinatal mental health, but I have a soft spot in my heart for grief work as well. And like Catherine was saying, like, let's talk about it, because a lot of times in our grief, we are isolated, and the less isolation that there is, and the more these uncomfortable conversations are brought forward, the more we find our community and the more we find our safe spaces to talk about grief and realize that, oh, actually, we all walk our own grief journeys. And, you know, there's a lot that I can get from having these conversations with others.
Experiences like miscarriage, stillbirth, infertility, or infant loss can carry a depth of pain that is hard to fully put into words, and yet so many families walk through them. In our last episode, our roundtable experts gave some personal experiences that were very applicable, and we were able to really feel what they had gone through. And we had talked a little bit about both grief and trauma. But in this episode, we'd like to go into that in a little bit more depth. What makes these losses especially complex is that they're not just emotional. They can also be deeply physical and traumatic, impacting the body, the nervous system, and how a mother moves through future experiences, which we had also mentioned previously. At the same time, there's often a lack of language or acknowledgement around this kind of loss, leaving many mothers to carry it quietly. So, in this particular conversation, we're unpacking what makes reproductive loss so layered and why it's important to understand it through both a grief and a trauma informed lens. How do reproductive losses uniquely impact mothers? And why is it important to understand them as both grief and trauma?
Kind of reiterating what we already said is when you have a reproductive loss, you are losing a life. Trauma is when life is in danger or threatened or there is actual death. And so it is a traumatic experience. Again, the levels of trauma vary by individual. Some people, a miscarriage is not traumatic. If it's an unwanted pregnancy, if there's other factors, for many, it is. And it's a unique type of grief, losing a pregnancy or having a stillbirth or infant loss, than any other type of grief. I know, especially losing a living child, it is a pain like no other. I always said it was a pain I would never wish on my worst enemy. And parents that I've met through the years, whether they lost a baby up to an adult child, they agree. I remember I lost my dad 2 years after we lost my son, and that was hard, but compared to losing my son, it was not even comparable. And the level of grief and the pain and the hole you literally feel in your heart is not something you would wish on anybody. And so talking about it and acknowledging it, I think is important, which is great we're doing this today. I know another kind of secondary trauma that happened to me personally, that a lot of people don't think about, and I didn't until I experienced it, is lactating and breastfeeding. So I was breastfeeding and I came home that day and had no baby to feed. And the trauma of having to pump and not have my child there while processing all that had happened was awful. And it was like a cruel joke. Folks, same thing, people who've had a stillbirth. And in hindsight, had I known, I could have pumped and donated the milk. No one told me. No one told me that was an option. I think that would have been very comforting to me to know that like his milk was going to another baby in need, just like donating the leftover diapers I had and things like that. But there's these layers of trauma that really get added on. Women going back for their checkup, and the doctor comes in saying, "How's the baby?" and not realizing she lost the baby because her chart wasn't flagged. So there's like these little things that can really add up that I think as a system we need to be more aware of, both in the medical system but also in society.
I want to bring into the conversation comparative grief for a second, because here Kelly is talking about, we're all moms in this space. The thought of losing a child that you have held in your arms and felt them breathe and fed them and felt their life and had them, and bringing into the same space and the same chat what, again, if you hold your expectations and you try to put it in a category, what we could say in the conversation is, I'm bringing into the same space the cells and the blastocyst or whatever it is that I miscarried at 6 weeks, at 10 weeks, at, 15 weeks, wherever. And to be like, how can I take up the same air as Kelly and talk about my grief? And I just, as someone in Kelly's field, we acknowledge that a loss is a loss, and there is no grief Olympics where we have a gold medal winner and a silver and a bronze, and we don't even acknowledge your, 4 week miscarriage, right? No, because it is all these grief experiences have their worth, and you are allowed to feel the depths of them for what they are in your experience. And I appreciate Kelly bringing in this perspective and having this perspective and working with moms who know, like, she gets the depth of this experience, but in no way by Kelly having that knowledge and having that personal experience does she diminish any other, like, level, if we use that term, of loss.
Exactly, exactly. And I remember I used to lead a loss group for parents who have lost children. And so I was the only one who had lost an infant. Everybody else had lost teenagers or even adult children. And while the circumstances are different, one might compare my loss as, well, he was just a baby. Whereas, I had my son for, 25 years or whatever. And then, I might think, well, you got him for 25 years. I only had 3 months. And that's not a healthy thing, right? We can't compare. So I'm really glad you brought that up, Sarah. Like, pain is pain no matter what, and especially no matter how you lost your child, it's still valid and a loss. Because I have had people minimize, like, especially in the years since, like, if I have a friend going through something uncomfortable or tough, they feel the need to, like, yeah, I know, I'm so sorry to kind of dump this on you. And it's like, no, like, it's still hard that you're going through this, or that you lost this person, or you're going through this divorce or whatever. Like, it doesn't mean that you're not entitled to feel that. And so I'm really glad you brought that up, Sarah.
This episode is brought to you by Her Circle, the ultimate community for moms looking for real connections, meaningful experiences, and expert support.
From Mom's Night Out and family adventures to book club, volunteer opportunities, and expert workshops, Her Circle is where moms come together to learn, laugh, and lift each other up.
Spots are limited, so join the waitlist at herhealthcollective.com/membership.
I just had a question for both of y'all. I appreciate you sharing your experiences and things. Could you share what were some of the most helpful things that your village did for you and said to you? Because it can be uncomfortable, an uncomfortable situation, uncomfortable topic for people, I guess, on the other side. Anything come to mind?
Yes. Immediately, showing up, food, someone to help clean the house, dealing with, being the liaison with family and friends, having a point person. I had friends get me a massage. I had friends, reach out, take me out to dinner. And I had to eventually set some limits, because there's also, your own energy level. People helping with I had 3 living children at the time who were 2, 5, and 7. And so offering to help, take them out, play dates, things like that. So that helped in the immediate after we lost my son. But I would say in the years since, and I'm almost 13 years out, what has been most helpful is people acknowledging his name, saying, I remember Josh. I remember when he did this, I saw this and it reminded me of him, because that's what parents really want, is to know that their child mattered and that their memory lives on. And I was talking to someone else a few days ago. We tragically, a friend of mine lost her teenage son recently, very suddenly. And was telling him, what will be most helpful is 6 months from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, reaching out, sharing memories of her son, sending that text. When you're thinking about the person, take that extra 20 seconds, send a text. It really, really makes a difference, because like I said, it helps minimize that isolation, that you're like in this island looked at with pity for the rest of your life. Whereas if people can just treat you like you are you and share those memories, it really can help.
When we don't have our own grief experiences yet to pull on, it makes us extra cautious around those who are in the depths of their grief. And oftentimes, in my friend groups, my personal life, I'm seen as the like person to text of like, so and so's mom died. Do I say something? Yes, yes, we always do. We don't need to tiptoe. We don't need to question ourselves acknowledging somebody's human experience. I think to have that reminder of like, you can't really, as long as you're showing up in your humanity and being willing to be vulnerable and not know the right thing to say, we always show up. Like, yes, you can cause damage by saying like, well, she lived a good life. We could do like the awful things to say. And maybe that would be kind of a fun way to talk about grief of like, what's the most horrible thing you said. But as long as you come with humility and knowing that it's okay to not know, just show up. Just show up and be willing to be uncomfortable with them because they're not a grief expert either. They don't know the right thing to say either or what they need to hear. They've just gone through a loss that they are still actively processing, and they just want to know that their people haven't disappeared. They want to be seen. They want to be held. One of my favorite things post miscarriage, which is, again, one of those disenfranchised grief. We're like, am I allowed to be sad and get nice things for myself from my friends and have them say things? She sent me like 24 cookies, like way too many cookies. But it was that gesture of like, oh, I am seen and I'm held in this way that kind of feels ridiculous, but she's just showing up in the best way she can.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point, Sarah, about it's okay to say, I don't know what to say, and I'm here. And say, there are no words, I'm here. And that's okay. That's something.
To Sarah's point, when she said they're not a grief expert either, that made me think about the fact that everybody experiences grief differently also. So even if you have that perfect phrase or exactly the thing to say to this individual as they're navigating grief, that might not hit or resonate with someone else experiencing their own kind of grief. So I think it's important to just lead with your heart and to open up and be vulnerable. And you're exactly right. I think leading with that, I don't really know what to say here, but I am here for you is really, really important. Thank you so much for this conversation around the unique impact reproductive loss can have on mothers. It is something that is far too often pushed to the side, pushed under the rug, and it's a conversation that we need to have out in the open far more often. So I appreciate that. And I very much appreciated Catherine's question there at the end too. I think that's an important conversation to have too.
Come back for our next episode where you can get more information from our Her Plus expert providers in this current roundtable discussion on maternal grief and loss, supporting moms through hard seasons.
That's a wrap. You carved out a few moments just for yourself, and that's a big deal.
We understand that time is limited, but we've got your back, which is why we keep these episodes short, sweet, and packed with goodness.
Don't miss a thing. Hit the follow button so you're always the first to know when a new episode drops. If you had as much fun as we did, let us know by leaving a review.
And remember to let other moms know that we're here doing motherhood alongside you. Grateful to share a few moments taking care of you.